てないため絶対サービスキープしろこっちかフォロースルーに祝って絶望へのプレリュードを聞けそしてThat's what you want.
Hey everyone, it's CurlyHairedHero, and welcome back to Prince of Tennis 2005 Crystal Drive. So, last time we took down the I-1 Trial Singles Tournament. It was a little bit of a stopgap since I did one of the Hilted Unlock tournaments off screen because it was a tournament we already did. Now we're going to do the Iron Plate 3, which is a survival singles tournament, which is kind of rough. I think this was a tournament that I did with Atobe, but basically it's just us using 3 characters, which in this case are just going to be all 3 copies of Kawaji, since it's just easier for me to just not switch characters. But basically we're playing against 3 other characters back to back to back until, you know, either side, the winner is the one that has players remaining, right? So let's go ahead and just jump right into this. We need to do this tournament in order to get Atobe finally, and then also end up getting Sasaki, which is the coach for Hilde. So let's go ahead and take on this. I don't know. I've been trying to pay attention to what the themes or the general theme that they're using for players in these team tournaments. Don't know what this one is. Somewhere we have Oshi, so it might just be either sub-captained or wow, Kawaji is very weird. He like just slides around the way. Do you see this crazy sliding? Wow, let me take a look at his slats. Hold on. But yeah, it might be like sub-captain, because I think Oshi is the sub-captain. He has really weird stats. So he has, again, the stats go from 1 to 4. I'm sorry, 1 to 5. 1 being the lowest, 5 being the max. He has 1 grip, but 5 power and speed, but then 1 ball speed and 1 quickness, but then 5 spin, 1 for taunt, praise, and C power, which I think is how quickly he gets his C gauge moves. The only, you know, not 1 or 5, the one that he doesn't have like min-maxed are his recovery and his sight, which are 3. But then his A time, which is I think how long he can stay in awakening mode, is 1. So I don't really understand what's going on here. And in general, Kawaji is like a really weird character because he's like, I want to say he's kind of like Atobe's butler or something like that, but he's like, I don't know how else to say it, but he's kind of like Atobe's bitch, but like in a respectable way. But he also has this weird sort of like gimmick where he can like mimic the moves of other people, similar to kind of like how Ryoma does it, where Ryoma, you know, borrows a lot of moves from a lot of other players. He can do, for example, Taka's Hadouken, or whatever the hell it's called, and he can also do Kisihara, at least in this game, Feint Smash. Kisihara being the guy with the bandana from Saint Hidolfo, who one of his moves is that he goes for a smash, he jumps up, or maybe it's not him, maybe it's someone else? No, I'm pretty sure it's him. He jumps up and goes for a smash, but instead he like maneuvers around and turns it into a drop shot, so it's like a feint. But apparently we can do that with Kawaji here. And that's kind of it. He has something that he can do with like doubles. I think there is one that like Atobe can trigger if he's playing specifically with Kawaji, but maybe it's not specific Kawaji, maybe it's like any doubles partner. But he kind of just makes them do everything. And then apparently he has some special where if he loses his racket, I can activate this special in order to like boost up a bunch of his stats, which is kind of interesting. But that, again, that's only if I lose a racket, which don't know if that's actually going to end up happening. But in terms of like trying to like go through this quickly, I don't know. I'll be able to do that. I don't have like, you know, serve special. or anything like that. I guess I could have just taken the easy way out and just picked Otari again. But, you know, I try to, like, use different characters every time. Because, again, I could have just gone through this easily just using Sengoku or, you know, something like that. Or just Ryoma, who's just super easy to go through this. But that wouldn't be very interesting. I was hoping that I would have a little bit more of, like, maybe not a struggle, I don't know. Struggle is a hard concept to state or define in this series, because I don't want to, like, lose every game or every match and have to start all over again. I don't think that's very entertaining to watch. But, you know, having more of a challenge would be nice, where, you know, I'd have to, like, maybe fight back, or, you know, maybe have, like, characters that have very odd stats that I have to, like, find a way around it, you know, playing different playstyles than what I usually do, because for the most part I kind of just do the same thing for all the opponents. Like, the most that I've had to, like, you know, play alternatively is when we have those characters that have really low grip, ironically, like Kabaji, but I'm trying to see if I can get that special I was talking about to trigger. But yeah, other than that, those are really the only times where I've changed my game plan a little bit, where I will, you know, try using more two-handed hits and, you know, being a little bit more careful, stuff like that. But I guess in general, all the characters aren't, like, super crazy. And the game is sort of, like, pretty balanced, is I guess what I'm trying to get at. It's not to the point where, like, you know, I feel like in, like, Mario Tennis, you know, you play, like, someone like Bowser and he's just massive power. He's, like, these crazy, almost unreturnable serves. But then, you know, he kind of can't really move around really well. Like, it's not, they don't have skills that are, like, or they don't have, I should say, players or, not abilities, player attributes that are that, you know, wild, right? They're a lot more balanced. You can sort of see the subtle differences, like, you know, playing with Ichigata, it's just like, oh man, this guy hits like a truck, compared to, like, maybe, you know, a different character like Hiyoshi that I was using before that, right, who has less power. But for the most part, it's not, like, a substantial difference, which is good. Especially considering that it's a Prince of Tennis game and they can tend to be fucking bonkers with their, like, stats and stuff. Or their, you know, anime realism. But thankfully they kind of calmed that down with this game, which is, you know, again, what makes this such a solid, amazing tennis game. And as I was talking last time, in the final round of the I-1 Trio Tournament, I was talking about how, you know, I went to go do some research on baby steps and I got depressed about that. But then also that I was going to try and see if I can look up anything for, there we go, there's Hadouken. If I can find up anything about, you know, other Prince of Tennis games, and they have a lot of them. A lot more than I thought, but as I figured, the vast majority of them are all just, you know, wow, he's almost out of, wow, he's already out of Super Gauge. Oh man, this is a bad idea. This, I'm not having a hard time, so it is, I am gonna have to play a different playstyle in that I can't just, you know, go to Super Mode, profit, but at the same time, I'm not having a hard time, so I'm just gonna have to do this really nice and slow, I guess. But anyways, the majority of the Prince of Tennis games that have been released are, as I expected, just dating sims. Which is kind of weird, because again, like I mentioned, they're all middle school students, and, you know, there's at least 10 games where it's just you hitting on middle school students, which is kind of weird. I kind of wanted to see if I could play one of them as a joke, but they're all in Japanese. None of them got localized. I mean, I didn't really actually see if they got localized, but I'm like 99% sure none of them got localized. And I don't think there were, I mean, I could check, maybe there's some, like, secret Prince of Tennis video game community, but I don't think they were, like, very well, they don't have, like, a community behind them in order to get, like, a fan translation or anything like that, right? So, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play any of them. There's, I found the game that I, shit, what was the name of it now? I found the game that I was talking about on the PS2. It was like, I think it was like Form the Strongest Team. It has a very weird name. I think that was the one. I was seeing the screenshots of it. I was just like, oh man, that's real nostalgic. But I finally found what that game was. It was definitely on the PS2. So like I said, I might go back and maybe not go back, but I might in the future go and play that game, and I might also go and play this other game. Apparently, there's a trading card game for Prince of Tennis, which isn't too surprising, but there's also a trading card video game, which I was just like, what the fuck? Which is pretty interesting, and kind of want to give that a shot, but again, I would have to learn a brand new card game that is in Japanese, which presumably no translation, and then also try to acquire a copy of this Japanese-only game on the PS2, which is kind of difficult. But I'll consider it. I'll see if maybe I can just get it and play it on my own time and see if it's worth actually doing some videos on. But then other than that, yeah, I was kind of disappointed. There was nothing really like on like the PS3 or like anything else. They didn't bother making like Wii games or anything like that. They just kind of didn't give a shit, which I kind of understand. Like I said, the series kind of like stopped. It was kaput, a long time ago. And then it wasn't until somewhat recently where they decided to bring back the series with New Prince of Tennis. And for New Prince of Tennis, they only have, I think they had one game, but I think it was again under the dating sim. And then there was another one where they have like a mobile game, which is like some sort of weird puzzle game. That I didn't look into. It was like New Prince of Tennis and puzzles. So I think it was just like Prince of Tennis, but then also like, it's one of those games where it's like, I'm sure it's like a top screen. I'm thinking like DS era, where it's like top screen is like a character doing something, bottom screen is just you playing Bejeweled or whatever. So I'm assuming it's something like that. But I don't know. I'll try and see if I can look into those 3 games. Maybe. But I don't know if I'll be able to download that. I don't know how downloading Japanese apps would work on my phone. But yeah, a little disappointed. I expected to, again, like I did with Baby Steps, find some sort of like hidden treasure trove of games that I can, take a look into and try and figure out how to play and whatnot. But that is definitely not the case, which is super unfortunate. I'm not as impressed as I was with Baby Steps, but I guess that's fine. We have been playing this for like 10 trillion years, so I'm not too concerned. And you realize also we are playing this on hard mode, which is why Oshi has been able to return both of my Hadoukyus here, and he's using his specials as well as possible. So this isn't baby mode, but I'm still ahead, which is nice and all. But I'm definitely not having a good not a good time. I'm not having an easy time. As I did with maybe Otari or anything like that. Cause, yeah, pretty much anyone, once they're on hard mode, they're a little bit difficult to contend with. Because they can, use their specials correctly. Ooh, wow. Ooh, maybe I'll be able to, I don't know if it counts, because they don't have like racket kills on this. But, there we go. Hey, I did it. So now my grip has gone up 1 stat, my ball speed has gone up 2, as does my quickness, my taunt, my praise, my control, or my C power, my recovery. No, those are already even, and then I think my A time was kind of low before, so that went up as well. So presumably, if my racket breaks again, I will just be super strong. Because I'll just have max stats. So that's kind of interesting. I wish I could try and trigger that, because that might make this a little bit more bearable. I mean, I kind of already had decent enough stats to make it through this. I just don't have enough of like a special, so I just kind of have to play raw tennis to get through this, which is fine. I don't mind playing like raw tennis without, all the bells and whistles, like anime boys and all that stuff. It's just not as entertaining for me to record and stuff. So tend to not like doing that. Let me see if these stat buff carries over.
Yeah.
Because the game, like the amount of games I've lost carries over, so maybe they'll do something like that. Let's see, where are my stats? Nope, my grip is back down. Oh, that's unfortunate. Because especially against these players, I highly doubt that I'll be able to get 2 racket breaks in a row. But especially considering my grip goes up a little bit. This is actually the character that I just finished unlocking using Hirashigata. This is his doubles partner. They're like, I think like a national, like really good nationally or like locally or something like that. But in the grand scheme of things, it don't really matter. He has a special you can use really early on, which is interesting. I think he only needed 1 gauge for that. But I'm gonna try and see if I can go through this relatively quickly. I don't want to spend too long on this because again, Kabaji can't do much, so I can't just like cycle through this. And I feel like I'm gonna be here for a bit, so let me see if I can beat this game against this guy and then play the last like 2 games, 3 games against my last opponent and see where we're at that. I guess I can try and do. Maybe it's not worth doing that. Oh boy, yeah, he can just have that game, I guess. Wow, that's super unfortunate. I managed to actually do the smash feint accidentally almost, trying to do a different move, but then it got blocked. Balls. Let's see if maybe we can get a nice smash. Nope, I just keep sliding away from all the smashes. God damn it. So, quick update. I lost my racket a couple of, like a game or 2 ago. And I thought it was just like 1+ to like several stats, but no. My grip all of a sudden is 4 and my quick is 4, as is my C power, so I think it's like random, which is kind of odd. In terms of like what stats get, or not what stats, it's, you know, some of them are already maxed out, so they're obviously not going to get anything, but somewhat random in like how much extra points you get for those stats, so good to know. Wow, so it actually happened. So yeah, this is the last match. We're against this guy from St. Adolfo. It's actually my second Kabaji. I almost lost him as well. Been having a bit of a hard time getting through this somewhat. But my racket has been broken twice, so I'm going to use it now, the skill, and it did nothing. Oh, that's disappointing. Oh my god. So basically, this skill for Kabaji that boosts his stats, you can apparently only use it once per game to have it have any actual effect. Ah, that's disappointing. Well, there is one other cool thing. Kabaji in super mode, after he's boosted his stats, is kind of terrifying just because of the fact that his ball speed goes up really respectably to 4. That mixed with his power makes him like a threat. But then on top of that, right now, since it's randomized, my quick is actually at 4, so I'm actually able to get around the court really easily. But that, with the fact that he already had high speed and the fact that he can slide around, once I use super mode or awakening mode, I can literally navigate like through the entire court like fucking a cow on roller skates, or maybe that's a bad analogy, but I can just go through it so easily. Let's see if I can show it off a little bit here. But I can just like fucking fly through, like it's hard to actually be able to see it because it might not look like a big difference, but I can just fucking go through the entire court so quickly. Like, I feel like I'm using Shishido or something like that. Like, it is that fast. Which, again, it's hard to tell because I've just been using, you know, Kabaji, and I had 4 quick before this, so it was already pretty fast. But look at that. Like, I'm like a bullet over here. Oop! Wow, I did that from all the way over there. That's kind of crazy. Not to mention that he's pretty good in that regard, in that I can use that lob defense at any point in time. Oh, come on. I don't understand what it is with that hit, where after I do my move, my opponent manages to return it. I just cannot actually hit it back, because it just does some sort of weird bounce. Maybe because we're on clay, man, that's what it is. But nonetheless, it's been kind of arduous, and not in like a good way, as like it's been difficult, but it's not like anything that I can really, you know, couldn't handle or anything like that. It's just kind of like long and grueling, which is kind of the point of these survivor tournaments, which kind of sucks, because, you know, tennis is kind of all about endurance and, you know, the epitome of, you know, going one-on-one with an opponent and seeing who can last the longest kind of deal. And that's why a lot of tennis matches sometimes even last, you know, 5 hours or something like that, right? Regularly, most matches last, I think, like 3 hours, I think, on average, more or less. 2-3 hours, right? And I wish that that would translate over to this game, and it kind of does. You know, even though this is an anime game or doing anime things, using Kawaji kind of removes that, because I'm not doing too much crazy shit, right? So I have to just play like good fundamental tennis, which is great, but that's kind of different from actually watching someone play tennis, especially considering that in tennis that there's no commentary during points. You actually, it's just the players, they play their points, you know, and it's just pure silence until the end of the point. Then the commentators say stuff, because there's a lot of in between, you know, preparing for points, preparing for serves and whatnot. And there's a lot of breaks, players take breaks, switching sides, all that kind of stuff. That takes some time. This game obviously cuts all that out. It just goes one through the other, just boom, 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 boom. You know, no need to show 20 seconds of someone toweling off, right? We don't have any of that kind of stuff. But I have to kind of talk through the entire thing, so it's kind of difficult to make it, you know, not be random garbage coming out of my mouth when I'm doing that, especially when these super long matches. This match was 40 minutes. I think editing it down is probably going to be more like maybe 15 or something like that, so that's like a good 20 minutes or something like that I took out. Yeah, because it's like 45 minutes. So I know I've been able to do it in the other Survivor Tingles tournament, just because of the fact that I was using Odaris. I was able to, like, you know, turbo through it a little bit easier, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it this time around. So I always feel weird, because, like, you know, tennis matches are supposed to be long, so I was like, alright, so that's a good thing, but it's like, no, at the same time it's not, because that's, you know, I don't want to upload a 3-hour video, but then most of it is probably just going to be me in silence, because there's no way I can talk for 3 hours straight like that, right? But in any case, I've rambled on about not being able to ramble on. Take care of yourself.